So
Cushy gig, yeah.
yeah, really
I
nice.
mean, just got to get yourself a sexual assault under your belt, and then
And then there
I
you
guess go to
go.
law school. I'm
Hey,
ready.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Hey everyone, and welcome to the next episode of the Blue Sedition podcast. We're smiling and laughing here because we just did this episode. Except I'm pretty bad at this. We're still learning, and I did not have the record button on. Mike, I think this episode should be better because we just did dress rehearsal,
We did a dry run, yeah, so
right?
it's gonna be better now. We
Um,
know where our goods and our bads are. I'm ready.
yeah, it's gonna look like we have always had all the facts. We remember everything.
Oh
That's
yeah.
because that's because we just did this. Yeah, as I said, that's Mike. You know Mike.
Hey everybody, I'm Mike Smith, co-host of the Blues Edition podcast. You all remember my co-host,
That's me.
Nate Brady.
That's me. Look, we're already doing so much better than the first time. Really glad we got to take a second shot at this. What the heck are we going
Yeah.
to talk about today?
Today, we're going to go back a little bit. So, in the last episode, we talked about migration. We talked about some appointments and how they're going to be impactful for that. In the episode
Okay.
before, we talked about a lot of Trump's early picks for nominations for his cabinet seats and whatnot. So, in the last little bit this week, and more importantly, just before our first take of the episode, some news dropped about one of his cabinet picks.
Yeah, let's go over the timeline of this everybody's favorite cabinet pick, Matt Gaetz. So we'll go over the series of events, get everybody caught up. I'm sure most of you are all caught up, but then there's some breaking news that literally just landed, and we have some more details on that. So let's go back to about almost 10 days ago, November 13th, when President-elect Donald Trump announced Matt Gaetz as his nominee for Attorney General, which obviously was quite shocking to a lot of people. We're still reeling from it, but especially
not just
Democrats. Many Republicans, Senate Republicans, expressed their concerns. It was going to be seen as a real litmus test, I guess, on Trump's agenda, and how that would fare with Congress. So that happened on the 13th. On the 14th, Governor DeSantis announced a special election to fill Gaetz's congressional seat. Meanwhile, there was still an ongoing ethics committee into Gaetz, right? And so on the 15th, I believe it was, Matt Gaetz decided to step down from his position in Congress.
His name for consideration for the position of Attorney General.
Well, no, wait, I'm not there yet. I'm talking about he decided to resign.
He's resigned from
Congress. Yes. Yeah, no spoilers. He decided to resign from Congress, and in hopes that the ethics committee report would not be released. So, and apparently we did talk about some rules where it looks like in Congress, in the House, the ethics committee there, basically it says, as a rule, that they will only investigate members of Congress. And so by Gaetz resigning from Congress, it was, he was hopeful, or was almost made some assurances that the ethics committee report would not come out. Right.
Yeah. A little more context on that too is that this isn't actually a rule. This is more like the guidelines of the House and how they have traditionally done things. So I've got a quote here from House Ethics Committee Chairman Michael Guest, and he said, quote, that they no longer have jurisdiction on the issue, end quote, because presumption of they can only investigate their sitting members of Congress. They can't even, according to him, investigate forthcoming members of Congress who will start in the next cycle, who have been elected and are sitting. If you got elected for the next term and you are not in Congress today, they cannot investigate you until you are sitting. That was their assertion there.
Okay,
assertion.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and actually there have been a few other people who said the same thing. Dick Durbin said that. I mean, you've got a couple of Democrats coming out as well, and so it appears to be, when you're in the House, you're fair game, and when you're not, we leave you alone. So I
Okay.
think that may have been the chip that they used for Gaetz of maybe Gaetz go get a job with Trump because this House Ethics Committee is going to release their findings soon, and
I
you're
mean,
not going to
what a
enjoy
job!
that.
What a job it would have been, Attorney General. But wait for it. So then, fast forward a few days later to the 18th, and suddenly new allegations surfaced regarding payments made by Gaetz. Basically, we got to see a whole number of Venmo transactions in upwards of hundreds to I think there was a check for over $1,000
Yeah,
for various things like tuition repayment and
yeah,
just
coded
because
language and
yeah, which obviously the allegations are that he was paying these young women, some underage women, for sex. Now go to so those came out on the 18th. Now move forward to the 20th, just a couple of days ago. Gaetz started meeting with Republican senators to discuss his nomination. Obviously, there was growing scrutiny amid all of these new allegations that were dropping, and the Democrats were pushing for the release of the ethics committee findings. And that night, Senate Democrats said, are requesting from the FBI Matt Gaetz's file, right? Like
yeah.
we're
They
getting ready.
wanted to know what the feds had on him
Yeah, exactly.
because they're like, well, if we're not going to drop if the House Ethics Committee isn't going to release their findings, then we're going to go see what criminal findings we can get on him, and then we'll if there was to be a nomination hearing, then they would bring those up. That still, I think, raises an interesting conversation about Trump's attempt, or at the very least, Mike Johnson has floated the idea. House Speaker Mike Johnson has floated the idea of um, appointments when the House is out of
Recess
session.
appointment.
Recess appointments. Thank you. And I think that a lot of us had naively assumed that's because Matt Gaetz was going to be their worst pick and they needed to get him
Right.
through.
Sure.
But if he's now not part of that, are we worried about recess appointments? Is that still on the table?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I imagine less. I mean, I think when we last looked at least what the prediction markets were feeling, all
Yeah.
of Trump's appointments were anywhere from 75% chance to 98% chance of getting through, and Gaetz was 20 something percent chance, right?
Well, and so I find it interesting because the military guy that I can't remember the name of,
Hegseth?
yes, Hegseth, he has had in the last day or two, somebody came forward with sexual assault allegations against him, and there was apparently a court case, and maybe it was worked out, but it's still you sexually assaulted someone and legal system did its thing. Is that somebody you really think belongs
Right.
in a cabinet position? And will he get through the scrutiny of a Senate hearing?
So I will say that you bring up the perfect person. Like, you just did this off the top of your head. We didn't share these numbers last time. He has the least percentage chance right now, according to the prediction markets, of getting and I'll share this in a second. Before I share it on the screen, can you tell me the correct order? You have Pete Hegseth is correct. Who's the next one?
Vince McMahon's wife.
Oh, no, actually. Is she on here? She might not be on here yet, because I would give you that. I'm actually surprised I don't think she's on here.
I wonder if she was given the nod as a sort of tongue-in-cheek thing. I don't know if she's an official, because she was supposed to get like Secretary of Interior or something strange. I always use Secretary of Interior, by the way. I never mean Secretary of Interior.
Education.
I say that to mean, no. She's not of education.
Yeah. That's what she was. That's what wait, let me now I want to make sure I'm not misleading the viewers. It's Linda, right? Linda McMahon.
That sounds right. Linda McMahon.
Yeah, Trump's education secretary pick. Yep. Yeah, so she's not on here yet. So let me
we really are just sort of coasting into idiocracy timeline, aren't we? I mean, we're going to have because she's fucking the wife of the WWE wrestling guy. He's got his own problems with like sexual allegations.
Well, they
sexual
both do.
assault
They've both got an abuse scandal going on right now. I don't
He
know.
does too.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. They're both involved. I actually don't know the full
Is
details
that a
on that.
prereq for getting a nod for some
I'm
position in
pretty
Trump's
sure you have to be an absolute piece of shit. Whether it's sexual assault, some kind of conspiracy. That's the only way. I mean, that seems to be the road now. If you're a politician and you're an absolute piece of shit, well, I know there are some out there saying, isn't that all politicians? But it sounds like you just got to be a Republican and you just got to go full hardcore into one of the Tea Party, MAGA, one of those kind of offshoots, and you could find yourself a real home there. And yeah, so
cushy gig, yeah.
Yeah, really nice.
I mean, just got to get yourself a sexual assault under your belt, and then
there you go.
Go to law school.
So here we got Hegseth is the worst with a 56% chance of being confirmed, with Tulsi Gabbard next at 60%, and then RFK Jr. at 71%. I would have, if you had given me this and I didn't know, I probably would have flipped RFK and Tulsi. Yeah. But Tulsi is somebody I want to talk about today as well, but we'll get to that. Anyway, going back to Gaetz.
Let's talk about Gaetz.
Let's move on to where we are today. After meeting with senators and kind of sensing that there was a lack of support for his confirmation, he announced that he was withdrawing from the nomination process on social media, or however he did it. And then, Trump expressed gratitude for him and all of that. And that left this, we got a few questions on social media. I started to see a lot of it coming around. Oh no, now that he's not going to be AG, is he going to end up back in Congress? Right. And we just got the breaking news just moments before we started recording this, that he has said, in fact, I can bring up his statement here. Let's share here. He has said, I'm still going to be in the fight, but it's going to be from a new perch. I do not intend to join the 119th Congress, he told large head Charlie Kirk.
So again, this is interesting because it means that at the very least, at the face of it, that the House Ethics Committee's findings will stay under wraps. Barring a leak of some sort, then this means, well, I'm not a member of Congress, so you can't investigate me. Case closed.
I mean, what other reason would you have for not? I don't know. I don't understand this reasoning. Can you think of a reason why Matt Gaetz wouldn't immediately join the new Congress? I mean, he's got a cushy job.
It has to be that. I mean, I don't see, unless he's got, a wink and a nod from DeSantis or somebody that there's a position in the Florida state house or something like that that'll he would be more valuable there for reasons X, Y, and Z. These guys are playing their political chess, and there is a timeline where he would be nominated to some seat, say a state Supreme Court seat opens up, then he might be a good pick for that. He does have law background. He's not completely unelectable at such a thing. So like you could imagine a Florida thinking, well, you're going to get canned out of the House because of this ethics probe. So why not just drop out of that and see if we can't put you on the bench somewhere at the state level or something. Or maybe he's got a plan to run the MAGA governorship, and he's going to try and challenge DeSantis. Maybe Trump wants him down there. There's some calculus to be done for that. I don't know. But I think on its face, it's much plainer to me of, they're going to fucking get me.
Yeah, I mean, I would think
resign, and I hope they don't leak it.
I hope they don't get me. Now, we can't forget that Marco Rubio, who is currently a senator in Florida, has been nominated to head the U.S. State Department, which is going to leave that seat open. If
Federal Senate seat open, yeah.
yeah, so that's a possibility. And then there's also the dynamic of DeSantis, I believe, is at term limit for
That's what I'm saying is that they might start Gaetz campaigning to try and win the governorship in Florida to keep MAGA strong.
are they is that up is that up in the midterms in 2026?
I don't know when it would be up, but you could imagine if it was at the midterm, then then this would make some sense. There'd be some political calculus that says he needs to hit the ground there, get some position in the state or with the courts or something, and start getting himself more locally responsible. And then that way they could run a governor campaign for him if it were the midterms. But I mean, even 4 years from now, you can imagine if they put him on the bench somewhere, then that would work to his favor as well.
Yeah. So all that said, Trump has made a new pick for Attorney General, which also came out yesterday. Was that yesterday? I don't know. Time is a.
I think it was this morning, but maybe that was just when I heard it.
No, yeah. I heard it yesterday because I remember. Yeah, I think I posted about it on our Blue Sky account.
Okay.
So Pat Bondi, Pam Bondi is Trump's pick now for Attorney General. I think that she was a pick in the past. But
for a Trump cabinet position,
for a Trump cabinet position, possibly even AG in the past, or he was like floating the idea around, but she was too scandalized in the past. But now it's like, well, if Matt Gaetz,
nothing matters.
Yeah. It's like you're lifting heavy weights, and then you're lifting your training weights, and now I can just throw in Pam Bondi here. So
and she was the attorney general in Florida in the past. So she has experience at the very least that we could say that Matt Gaetz didn't. So all things being equal, an attorney general becoming an attorney general isn't the craziest thing in the world.
Right.
That
said, there are certainly some things that we can talk about Pam. There was one, just doing my research because I either forgot about her or, just never really heard about her before too much in the past. There was an execution delay incident in 2013 where she faced a backlash for requesting a delay in the execution of a convicted murderer so that she could go to a political fundraiser.
Yeah.
Right. So there's that.
I had forgotten about that.
So I mean that
amazing.
You would say, well, I mean that's certainly not enough in this day and age to stop you from even getting a SCOTUS seat. So let's not pretend. She has ties to the Church of Scientology, which is worrisome to a lot of people. She attended a lot of high profile events associated with the church. She's accepted lots of donations from prominent Scientologists. There are people that argue that this could compromise her integrity as Attorney General, but I'm like, what integrity? Like, what are we? None of this matters anymore. So I don't know a ton about her other than a couple of incidents in the past. Obviously, her staunch support of Donald Trump. People are of course concerned that if she becomes AG and she handles January 6 cases and things like that, well, I mean, I think that's a given anyway for whoever becomes Attorney General
I
under
think
Trump.
that the January 6 folks are sitting pretty high right now. I don't think they have much to worry about.
Yeah, sure.
The ones who have been convicted are gonna receive pretty swift pardons, and the other ones are just going to be basically annulled, or whatever the word is for the case will be dropped. Yeah, she's just an average run of the mill Republican type. She does have these MAGA leanings of late, but earlier in her career, she was more like just a traditional Republican, like a Rick Scott or somebody.
Yeah, and by traditional, like Rick Scott, you mean just a complete scumbag. But I mean, she was the first female attorney general.
In
I don't
Florida or
in
anywhere?
Florida's
Yeah,
first
that makes
female
sense.
attorney general. She did focus on human trafficking. I mean, you kind of have to look at some of the good things here. It's bound to happen. She's probably the next AG.
She'll make it. She'll make it through.
Yeah,
She's got the credentials that'll make it palatable to Senate Republicans, and the Democrats will bend over, basically.
right. I think another thing that we can bring up about her is that she did face some backlash when she was Florida's AG for not pursuing that Trump University investigation, and she received a $25,000 donation from the Trump Foundation. So you know, I have a
Interesting.
yeah. I mean, she's obviously a great pick from Trump's perspective. She will probably do more for Trump than Barr or Sessions did, which should be really worrisome to people. I would say as shitty as Barr was, there were some lines that he wouldn't cross, and I just worry,
Yeah.
as many people do, about this incoming administration where there are no lines anymore.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Well, we knew with Gaetz there were going to be no lines. So already this, I don't know, is this a step up?
I
I-
I made the comment last night on our Blue Sky account. You know, would you rather have a completely incompetent AG who is just the department is in turmoil, or would you rather have a very competent AG who has an agenda? You know, it's a
Right.
hard.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I'm not sure which is better or worse. I just know that it's
I
better.
definitely said it in the last episode, or maybe it was the episode before that when we were talking about the initial nominations. But yeah,
Okay.
Gaetz was going to be a clown show,
Yeah.
and I think that he was going to be ineffective at best. But man, she might be effective, and if she's in complete lockstep with the Trump admin and their policies, then that could be trouble.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I mean that's all I have on Gaetz. We'll see where this goes. We'll keep an eye on it. I'm interested to see what is in store for him. He's probably going to be a lobbyist. He's probably going to, do something in that regard, but there is certainly the possibility that I think the governor appoints the senator. Is that how it works, or is that state by state?
I think it's state by state,
I'm
but there will be an election one way or the other. So
all right. Let's pull this up really quickly because I'm now
curious.
yeah. I know that for a House seat that it is in the Constitution, that you have to have a special
election. Yeah.
I would assume the same. Gubernatorial appointee through until the next general election is in several states. I'm looking to see, and Florida is on that list.
Right.
So it looks like
we just did that with with Harris's seat. We appointed Padilla and then voted in. Was it Padilla?
yeah. So California is one of the ones where the governor can appoint them until the next November election. So whether it's the general election for that seat or not, it's whenever the next November election is. That's when you have to fill that seat if there's a vacancy.
Okay.
According to this, let's see this. How U.S. Senate vacancies, how are they filled? So you can see gubernatorial appointment through the next general election, and Florida is on that list.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll see what happens there. I'm not sure. I imagine that DeSantis has people in
They've already
mind.
got somebody lined
Yeah,
up for that.
yeah. It's not like nobody. No, I don't think anybody owes Matt Gaetz anything, right? So this
Hard
pro-
to say.
probably not needed. Okay, let's move on. I wanted to talk. We did our episode last week, I think, about some of Trump's picks. I think we went over Matt Gaetz. We went over boy, who did we even go over in that episode? Did we talked about Hegseth, I think, who by the way
Yep.
has new allegations coming out against him. I think there was at least one other person that we talked about, but we did not talk about Tulsi Gabbard.
No,
So we touched a little bit
and
on
we
her,
should.
and we really should. Maybe we did, but briefly.
We talked about it a little bit because I threw out some allegations that you weren't ready to jump all in on.
You know what? Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe we did talk about her a little bit, but the numbers that I just pulled up show that she is one of the least likely to be confirmed, which I still find. I mean, maybe the whole Matt Gaetz thing is ruining my brain, like, right? Does now every other pick seems sane by comparison?
Yeah, that's crazy
but
no, I agree.
Yeah, it's totally not, right? And Gabbard there was a story that dropped on CNN today titled "Trump's Intel Pick was placed on government watch list for overseas travel and foreign connections." And obviously, I don't know why'd they say Trump's Intel Pick. Yeah, obviously Tulsi Gabbard is who they were talking about. She was quickly removed from the list. A little known program called Quiet Skies, which I do remember hearing about, after going public with claims that she had been added to a secret terror watch list. I don't know what to say about this, because Tulsi has been very open about her apparent support for leaders like al-Assad and Putin, though compared to like Donald Trump, who praises Kim Jong-un and Putin, it's like
Viktor Orban and
exactly.
I mean, just straight up dictators.
So there was that. She does echo a lot of Russian propaganda. She suggested that the U.S. funded biolabs in Ukraine. You know what? We did talk about her in that episode, didn't we? Now it's coming back. Yeah. Now it's
you try
coming
and
back.
blank that all out of your memory. You go, God.
That's what. And the other thing is, like, every 3 minutes some breaking news happens, and it feels, the stuff that we talked about last week feels years away. So I won't spend too much more time on this today. It's just that I did read that article that came out. It doesn't change anything to me. I'm surprised that she's so low on that list. If only maybe there'll be Republican pushback because of her ties to the Democratic Party. I don't know where the pushback will come from.
Yeah, the Democrats certainly don't view her as an ally anymore. And, arguably she wasn't one when she was primarying in 2015. So I think that she's just an opportunist, and it fits really well with Trump's picks because he loves opportunists because they're loyal to him for the moment.
Right. Okay, so then let's move on from her and let's go over to Trump's pick for Secretary of Agriculture, Kelly Loeffler. And Kelly Loeffler is another one. Actually, is Loeffler on this list?
No.
Loeffler's not on this list yet. This is also fairly recent. You can't sucks for the people that bet $3.2 million, by the way, on Matt Gaetz on the wrong side of this, because it already resolved as no, which is weird to me because it could still theoretically happen. So I'm surprised this is already resolved, right? Like he could be like, no, I'm back in. Um, so
If I had money on that and he flip flopped like that, there would be lawsuits. I think that, I mean, I don't know how you're going to be on this side anyway, because it's like, doesn't feel very legal to begin with, but
oh, not I don't think U.S. citizens are allowed.
right, right. We talked about that
Yeah,
last time too. It's just, it is one of those things where if there are, millions of dollars changing hands based on the outcome of a certain thing that you have control over, like, did he just put a bunch of money on himself to lose and then resign?
man. I mean, yeah,
Is anyone going to investigate that? I don't know.
that is true and insane because I think most of the money in Poly Market is tied to cryptocurrencies, and then
Yeah.
moving that and washing it is really really easy. No, I don't have any experience with that. Allegedly, it's really really easy. So yeah. But anyway, I want to talk about Loeffler a little bit because
Yeah.
she's another pretty terrible pick, which Trump is very good at. Before I say too much about her, I wanted to talk about because I was like, we talked before the episode, and I was like, okay, what does the Secretary of Agriculture actually do? Like, maybe is this just one of those positions where it's like, okay, who really gives a crap? I mean, it's there for a reason, right? And the first thing
Sure.
that comes up for what the Secretary of Agriculture does is they actually lead the USDA, and I did not know that. So this pick could have some pretty serious consequences. So and I probably did know that now that I'm saying it out loud. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I may have fallen under HHS if I wasn't really thinking about it. But it makes sense that USDA falls under there. So but the Secretary also of Agriculture also oversees a wide range of programs that are aimed at supporting farmers and like ensuring food safety and agriculture exports and enhancing rural developments. But one of the things that it includes is the food stamp program.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
so when
Food and nutritional assistance, SNAP and WIC and all that stuff.
yeah, all of those things. So I actually learned something. This is not the Secretary of Agriculture isn't something I ever wanted to dive into, but here we are. So obviously Kelly Loeffler, then she must have a background in this, right? To make decisions at this high of a level that could affect agriculture in the United States and affect people's lives. Frankly, she must have a pretty solid background in this, right?
Mm, a lot of cabinet picks for these sorts of things don't have backgrounds necessarily in health. You know, it's, they're not so specifically or specified for this type of work. I will say that she was a sitting United States Senator for Georgia before she was ousted by Warnock in 2021. So at the very least, she understands the politics game. And Department of Agriculture, I think, is just going to be mainly trying to cut uh, those programs we talked about before with food stamps and WIC and the like,
Right.
because that's been one of the um, championing rally cries of Trump and his administration is how much they're going to cut the federal government and especially anything to do with welfare or social nets, safety nets, and that sort of thing. So, do I think that she's qualified? Qualified to cut stuff, yeah, but otherwise, probably not. She probably doesn't care about that.
I mean,
She's also in
she.
charge. She's also in charge of the U.S. Forest Service. Did you know that?
Oh, is she gonna make
USDA.
California?
She's going to rake the
She's
forests.
gonna
That's
rake the
right.
forests in California, or
That's
make us
right.
go out and do that before we get any federal funding for wildfires in California. I mean, she does have the experience of being the co-owner of the Atlanta Dream, which is a WNBA team. So
Oh, that's a lot like agriculture, I guess.
she has a very she's very anti LGBTQ plus. So that's
Republican, that makes sense.
um
Although I don't think she can do a lot of damage from the Department of Agriculture, which is nice.
I mean,
Now,
certainly
one
from
thing that I'll say about the Department of Agriculture is that it's going to have a lot of crossover. It's going to have a lot of interdepartment work to be done with another department that's going to be handled by our RFK Jr. probably. So they step on each other's toes a lot between agriculture and health and human services, because nutrition information and agricultural support, that sort of thing, they just go hand in hand. So we're going to hear those two a lot.
I mean, we can listen. It's just another like, these picks don't make any sense. You know, when you want to put somebody in charge of something, you would hope that that person, if you actually wanted to get things done, whether it be reform, even if it's cutting things, any kind of thing, wouldn't you put somebody in that position that understands literally anything about
No.
that? No.
You have, I think, and I just believe this. I have evidence, but I think that they really just ran on, we're going to decimate the federal government because we think it's better if the federal government is just, down to the size of a tenth of what it is today. And so the Department of Agriculture has social safety nets and budget considerations that they would just like to cut. So you put somebody in there who is sort of a yes man, but has also done political dealings by being a senator, and can speak to the media and can just put that message forth of, we're reducing redundancy, or we're cutting spending, or whatever the talking points are from the top. And they're just there with an axe to grind. They're going to cut out the social services that these departments facilitate, and that's their North Star. They don't care about anything else. That's their guiding light they're going toward.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, that seems like all of his picks so far. I like there was I think it was Kevin Cruz who posted that he thinks that Trump's nominee to head the Department of Housing and Urban Development is going to be an African American because it has the word urban in it, and that's Trump. And that's why it was Ben Carson last time, who is a neurosurgeon leading the Department of Housing and Urban Development. So it doesn't really feel like there's any rhyme or reason in these cabinet member picks other than I'm putting people who are loyal.
People who bend the knee,
right,
and people who can get the cuts across, can deliver the promises that I made, even if they're insane.
Right. Here's the post from Kevin. Yeah, I will guarantee that Trump's nominee to lead the Department of Housing and Urban Development will once again be an African American because he saw it had urban in the title. I mean, that's great. So who do we have? But this is a cool thing here. So it was unannounced at this time, Secretary of Agriculture. It's a little blurry. But now we know Secretary of Agriculture, who we just talked about. Still unannounced is Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. So we're waiting on that. Secretary of Labor, that'll be an interesting one. And Secretary of the Treasury will also be an interesting one. But look at this list, man.
Kristi Noem.
I mean, Homeland Security.
Elise Stefanik. Come on.
Ambassador to the United Nations. I mean,
let's see if we can help this out here. Secretary of Labor. Let's put Libs of TikTok on there.
Libs of TikTok makes sense. Yep.
Secretary of the Treasury. Let's see. It has to be somebody ridiculous who knows nothing about. I mean, Elon would be good there. Elon doesn't know anything about money.
Well, Elon's already got the Department of Government Efficiency Department.
Yes,
right?
He does.
So,
which is a real thing. And don't say it's not a real thing on Twitter, the Everything app, or he'll ban you.
Yeah, it is a real thing. He's even doing a podcast. So don't say it's not a real thing. If he's doing,
I've forgotten that they announced that they're going to do a podcast that's got the same name as the department that they're heading, and they're like, this is what we're going to do. And I'm like, you two are going to run a podcast and this department that's definitely not make believe,
and 4 of your businesses
and some of your businesses,
I don't know.
The fact
Who do you
that
got?
people take Elon even remotely seriously is so ridiculous to me. Linda
Um,
McMahon. God damn it. Who? Anyway, we. I want to get back to an interesting discussion we were having in the first episode, which was talking about how we have all these MAGA types. We were talking about Matt Gaetz' seat coming up, and they were going to fill it because it's a seat that's safe in Florida.
sure,
They're going to fill it with another MAGA type who probably will be louder and more loyal than Matt Gaetz.
sure.
And you asked an interesting question of, you know, post Trump. Let's assume that
There is a
the
post-Trump.
22nd Amendment, the 22nd Amendment is rock solid, and they can't get past the maximum 2 presidential terms. And Trump is out, and we're
Okay.
in 28. We're leading up for presidential election. I assume it's going to be JD Vance on the top of the ticket. He's the vice president after all.
Very.
But
It doesn't always happen. There will definitely
I
be a
know
primary.
it does. I know that it doesn't always happen, and there will be a primary. But historically, the VP has a big head start over everybody else. Not to mention he's got a war chest that he's building already. Is JD Vance going to become the more sensible Republican and try and get back to Republican value nonsense? Or is he going to go all in and try and, you know, wear the MAGA hat and try and be the Trump post Trump? Like, does that even work?
The you know, that was posed around the idea that does being right now being a MAGA gets you something, right? Like being a
You
hardcore
get a
Trump
seat at the
guy,
table.
you get a
That's what
seat.
you
I mean,
get.
look at what Matt Gaetz, who honestly we none of us should even know who Matt Gaetz even is, other than some stupid guy in the house, right? Like
The guy who might be going to jail.
right. He got a potential attorney. You know, he got the pick from Trump as Attorney General because
he got the pick for the Speaker of the House.
right.
He and his MAGA caucus of 6 or whatever MAGAs in the House basically said, we're not playing ball unless you go with our picks.
Right.
And in fact, the first go around, who did they pick for Speaker the first time around? Can't even remember. Then he resigned because he was so upset about it.
Kevin McCarthy.
Kevin McCarthy. He got nothing done because his MAGA caucus behind him was so obstructionary. And eventually they called for a vote of no confidence against him. And he said, fine, fuck it, I'm leaving. Don't put it in the paper that I'm mad.
Yeah.
Don't
And
put
you
it in the
remember the
paper that
big
he was
argument that he had on the floor with
on the
Gaetz.
floor. Oh my God.
And
But
yeah,
so Matt Gaetz is, I mean, that's what we're talking about here is these MAGA folks have this amazing spot at the table at the moment where they call the shots.
right.
They're leading from the minority. But when Trump's gone, does that fly anymore?
I don't think. Yeah, I really hope it doesn't. I hope that MAGA doesn't mean as much. I hope that MAGA is a political career killer. But we have to see what them is. There are a lot of people that have come out now that are hardcore Republican voters because of Donald Trump, and you have to wonder if Donald Trump is no longer involved in this. Can somebody else put on that red cap? Can you see JD Vance wearing that red "Make America Great Again" hat? Hard to see.
I can't. But here's the thing. I don't think any of the traditional Republican figureheads or elected officials that aren't full-blown MAGA at the moment can don that cap. I can see going to the primary and Hulk Hogan gets half the votes for some reason. And now you have a new MAGA and it's based on celebrity and popularity more than anything else. And so that's why I say, are we going down the road toward idiocracy here where our elected officials are just going to be whoever comes across as the coolest?
It's really interesting because in 2016, before Hillary Clinton and her campaign propped up Donald Trump to be the they Pied Piper Donald Trump into winning the Republican nomination, it looked like it was going to be a pretty easy field. It was Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio. I mean, we would have anybody I think on the Democratic
Chris
side would have
Christie.
Chris
Yeah.
Christie. You would have
Yeah.
wiped the floor. Ben Carson. You wiped
Ben
the floor
Carson.
with those guys.
Oh my God.
And I think that if
Even Hillary could beat those guys.
even Hillary could have, I really love to know what went through her and her team's mind going, you know who we need to make sure that we get enough airtime and who we hope wins the nomination is this Donald Trump guy. Because man, if anything backfired more in the history of American politics, I don't know what it is. I mean,
it's hard to it's definitely difficult to overstate how badly that turned out for the Democrats and it arguably for America. What I wonder though is that would it have mattered? Would he have
won the primary anyway?
If they hadn't been,
he just got
working from the shadows.
He got so much airtime from left-leaning news outlets because of basically, whether people want to hear this or not, a directive from the Democratic Party and Dem leadership. You know, get this guy out there, put this guy out there, let people hear what he has to say.
He was on. They covered his stuff on MSNBC. I'm going. This is like the
Republican primaries,
the lefts, and they're showing the Republican primaries, and they're keeping the camera on him.
And I remember this being obviously I was a Bernie guy. I remember seeing like there'd be a Bernie rally and a Trump rally, and you could not find Bernie on television anywhere.
No,
you just wouldn't see it. Okay, because they didn't want it to be seen.
We had to find it online. We would find it,
but you couldn't.
The problem is that voters couldn't find
normal people couldn't find it, and still even the guy rocked stadiums. But
you know what I wonder though is that, and I'm wondering, I just got to ask you, is Trump, is he the albatross? Like, is he setting the stage for here's how you win as a Republican now? It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what your policies are, as long as you're popular and you're loud. And the Democrats can't help themselves but prop that up. I remember, it was just recently, but the Harris campaign, half of their problem is their messaging was his message. They would show, here's what Trump said. Instead of here's what I'm saying.
Right. We talked about that for episode after episode.
You're shouting your opponent's talking points, even if they are insane.
Yeah.
You're basically rallying for him.
I don't know if there will ever be in our lifetime a guy like Donald Trump that can do what he did and get away with it like he did.
He is untouchable for reasons that just they stagger me. I don't understand why, but I mean, time and time again, he's proved to be untouchable.
Yeah.
So Matt Gaetz, not untouchable. Matt Gaetz has, I guess, some semblance of shame that has got him to drop out of this position. And Donald Trump wouldn't do that.
That's exactly it right there, though.
Keep yelling, she's lying, she's lying.
Yeah.
This never happened.
Fake news. You're an idiot.
Fake news.
Yeah.
It's just fake news.
Yeah.
And then he would talk, whatever.
So I want to
that's what I'm asking though. Will there ever be a Republican presidential candidate with some semblance of shame?
It's hard to see. It's hard to see that happening. It's hard to see who right now could be that next possible MAGA pick. But I will say that I think in order to carry the torch, it has to be, I'm going to hate even putting this out in the universe, but I mean, it can't be anyway. He can't run for president, but it has to be like an Elon Musk, who is already right now like a huge celebrity among young people and Republican voters, or it has to be somebody who can work themselves in as a populist like Donald Trump has and has literally no, like you said, literally no shame. Can just stand there and lie right. It has to be a sociopathic narcissist.
And they have to be good at it. One of the things about Trump is that I hate him for it, obviously, but he was unflappable.
Yeah.
You caught him in a lie, and he's on tape admitting to lies, and then he would stand there and look you dead in the eye and say, "That's fake news. It's
Yeah.
not real. None of this is real. It's a witch hunt." And you're like, how can you say this with such like
And then it'll be like, well, because you're an idiot. That's why. And
when you know you're lying.
yeah.
How do you do that?
So I think I mean, whenever I think about the future of the Republican Party, I feel hopeful that, yeah, this could be the end, if it's not the end of, and I'm not going to say the end of the United States. I think that hyperbole is maybe a little too far, but
we've done that too many times.
Yeah.
We did that on Trump's first. We did
Right.
that with GW.
There's
we need to grow up.
There's reasons to believe that our country will not be the same for a long time because of the shape of SCOTUS and everything that's going on right now.
Yeah.
But I do believe that there will be an election in 2028. And for people, if you're at home and you're counting and you're like, this is going to be such a shitty 4 years. I was driving home last night, and one thing that I popped up a little bit was like, hey, it's actually only about 3 years until the next election cycle begins.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so.
Yeah, if you really want to put it into perspective, if you want an uplifting feeling as a Democrat going into your weekend toward the Thanksgiving holiday next week, which, by the way, we will have an episode next week. We plan on delivering that, so look forward to that. But here's the uplifting thought of mine. In 2 years, a little less, we're going to have the midterms again. So there's going to be an entire election cycle that can determine the outcome of the House and at least a seat or two in the Senate, and maybe things get better.
Right.
Maybe the Democrats get their act together.
Well,
maybe Trump's first 100 days is so horrible that it just, lights a fire and makes people want to vote Democrat again. There is a possibility for a blue wave. These things can happen. We don't know. Then that's a distraction for Trump. His cabinets, his picks, the president, the sitting president is always going to the mat for their candidates for midterm elections. They have to record a bunch of stuff, send out a bunch of things. It's going to be like this message approved by Donald Trump, etc. And it's going to be a huge distraction. So whatever it is, that's going to get in his way. He doesn't have the benefit that he had the first time where he thought he was going to have a full 8 years. So he's really only got, a bit of the first 100 days is obviously going to be important. Then they're going to go toward the midterms where they're going to start focusing politically there, but his administration's going to have goals that they're going to try to go for. Following the midterms, if it goes the way we all hope it does, where we get control of the House back and, God willing, a Senate seat or two so that we can get some semblance of control, then we can make the rest of his presidency a non-issue. If you control his budget, you control his policy, because he needs budget to do his migration policy. He needs budget to do everything he wants to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's something to be hopeful about. I think the first year is going to be the most interesting. And then, like you said, then we have a year of campaigning for midterms, and then you have another, then you have Trump's third year, and then basically it's okay. Let's gear up for the next presidential election.
Presidential move. Yeah.
So,
and it's going to be a distraction for that too, because he's gonna. Well, he may not.
He may not.
You never know with Trump. He may just be like, fuck it, I don't care who the next president is. But more likely than not, he'll do what Obama did. He'll do what Biden did, is his campaign for the next Republicans.
And by the way, I mean, there is a non-zero chance if you're. I'm not saying this is something to be optimistic about, but take it how you will. There is the man is 78 years old right now.
Okay, so, all right, we're earning that explicit rating.
You have you have to be honest and say what
is a thing.
What's the life expectancy in the United States? Okay, I'm looking at this and I'm being honest, and I'm saying, the life expectancy around the world is like 70 something, and the United States, which is pretty low on that list. I'm trying to find it right now.
Yeah, I thought it
United
was like low 70s. I thought it was like
No, it's
72 or
79.
79. Wow.
79 for both sexes combined. A little 77 for males in the United
Yeah.
States. Trump is 78. He's going to be 82 when he's out of office. He is not very healthy, even though whatever doctor he selects to do his
He's the best at health.
physical will say he's his heart is
He's
stronger.
actually too healthy.
Yeah, I mean, Trump himself has said hearts only have a limited number of beats. So I mean, I don't know how many his has
You picked
left.
this, America. You picked this guy. I just want you to know that.
Yeah, listen. We have to be honest as being on the other side. We all saw Joe Biden's a glimpse of Joe Biden's decline even as he was running in 2020.
Yes.
And from the 4 years from when he was elected president to now, it's so obvious how his mental acuity has declined, right?
Yes, it has. Yeah.
Um,
Well, I still think though, and we had a blog post about this on the website, lucidvision.com, and we were talking about Trump's mental acuity in the days leading up to the election, because he was having sort of similar recall problems where he would get facts wrong, names wrong. I mean, he's sort of renowned for calling people by the wrong name at this point.
sure.
I don't know if it's like half the time he's doing it because he's a jerk and he wants you to know that he doesn't care about you.
Yeah.
And then the other half of the time, it seems like he was doing a stump speech and he would get names wrong and kind of slur them. And you're going like, 4 years ago, I would have said that this is drugs. And now I'm like, maybe your brain just doesn't work quite right. I don't know.
Well, that my whole point here was to say there is a non-zero chance that we do have President J.D. Vance before the 2028 elections, right? Which could also change the shape of those elections. He could be considered, the de facto kind of,
Yes. Yeah, sort of like Harris.
Right.
I mean, Biden didn't die in office, but
right.
the way that he dropped out of the race while still being the sitting president is very reminiscent of like the president dying in office and
Right.
Kamala being the prospected candidate.
Right. So
could get messy.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting look. Donald Trump has been known to be a president of firsts, right? Many firsts. So certainly dying in office would not be a first, but he does keep it exciting. So let's see what happens.
It's going to be exciting if nothing else.
Yeah, I think this is a good place to wrap. Yeah. And like I said,
again, we're gonna do an episode next week. So
yes,
come back and see us.
Turkey
this time, yeah, for the turkey episode.
Yeah, it might not be on Turkey Day, but we'll have an episode out next week. I mean, you don't like turkey, right? Like you're not a turkey eater. So what do you eat on Thanksgiving?
Gravy.
You just a big bowl of gravy.
Yeah.
And it's probably not even turkey gravy. Is it like chicken gravy?
I think it's turkey gravy. We make it from the turkey,
okay.
Juices, the au jus.
Okay, so you actually make the turkey gravy.
Yeah.
And the turkey.
I like to cook a lot, so I cook.
Yeah. Okay. You and I are the same. We both cook Thanksgiving dinner. Okay.
But yeah.
So
we'll guys, follow us on all the places where you get pods. You see them on the Spotify, on the YouTube, wherever. Give us a like, give us a subscription, a follow, whatever. And I'm Mike Smith for Blue Sedition.
I'm Nate Brady.
And we'll see you next time.